Hey, I'm Jessica, and I am the creator of What You Can Do. This week we had the privilege of sitting down with Rupert Scofield, the president and CEO of FINCA International, and speaking with him about his book, The Social Entrepreneur's Handbook. You may not know this, but What You Can Do is run by a team of 3 women, so we were very interested in speaking with Rupert about the difference that microfinance is making in the lives of women around the world. As women, we were also really interested to see that microfinance, you guys took an interest specifically in women with the microfinancing. Can you talk a little bit about how that came about and what your experience has been?
Right. Well, as I mentioned, you know, I initially started out lending exclusively to men. I had 800 peasant farmers that I made $50 loans to in Guatemala, and these people took these loans and they bought fertilizer and seed and other inputs, and they basically revitalized these the soil that was, you know, after generations of farming, it was depleted of all its minerals and everything. And so when they put this small investment into improving their land, the yield increases were, you know, enormous, like sometimes 5, even 10-fold. Wow. So with this small, and they were able to, you know, eat better because they had more corn and beans to eat, but they could also sell some of it to buy medicine or buy clothes for their kids. And I thought, wow, all this with a $50 loan, this is amazing. So years later, when John Hatch and I organized FINCA, we used that same methodology, but we said, you know, let's spin it. Let's try it with the women in the markets and so forth. And we discovered an interesting thing. The women in the markets would take that same $50 and they would buy $50 of tomatoes or onions and they'd sell them for $60 in one day. So they would be getting like a 20% return on that investment in one day, whereas the farmers would take, you know, 6 months to get their crop. And so we found, you know, as we rolled this out, we found that the women were more creative. They were actually more risk takers than the men. The men would take that $50 and put it into traditional, you know, agriculture, which, you know, sort of, you know, it was better than what they had, but they weren't, you know, generating the same kinds of daily returns that the women were generating. And the other big payoff was the women took their profits and they invested them in the kids, you know. They would make sure they were better fed, clothed, they make sure they go to school. You know, I think one woman summed it up perfectly to me. She said, you know, my parents were poor, I've grown up poor, my daughter will not be poor, you know. Wow. And they are so determined to help them succeed that all you have to do is give them a little help, and many of them will just take it from there. You know, we talk a lot about the empowerment that microfinance brings along. You know, it takes, there's another great story, if we have the time, from Uganda. You know, there was a woman we made a loan to, and I went, you know, 4 months after we'd made the loan to see how she was doing. And I said, so what are the changes, you know, in your life since you got the loan? And she said, well, the skin on my knees is smooth now. And I kind of said, where's she going with that? And she explained, she said, well, you know, before FINCA came to our village, I used to have to crawl on my knees to my husband and beg for money to buy salt, you know, to make dinner.
Wow.
And I said, now I don't have to do that. I have my own business. I actually have more money than my husband, so now he has to crawl on his knees to ask me for stuff.
Wow.
But it can literally bring about that kind of transformation. And the neatest part is that that empowerment is transmitted to the kids. You know, they watch their mother, who used to be treated maybe worse than one of the animals, you know, in the house, because she wasn't perceived as a source of any kind of income for the family. And now suddenly she's contributing. It completely changes how she is treated and respected in her household, in her village, but most importantly, how her children perceive her. And suddenly they say, wow, my mother is successful, I can be like her. And as we know, you know, as social entrepreneurs, it's up here, really. You know, it's not in the money, it's not in your brilliant, sometimes not even in your brilliant idea. It's just believing in yourself and, you know, forming a vision of what the world can be like, you know, what changes you can personally engineer, and then suddenly you realize, wow, we did something. We did something good.
If you want to find out how to get involved with FINCA International, please visit finca.org. If you want to find out more about Rupert Scofield, please visit rupertscofield.com. And if you're looking for the book, The Social Entrepreneur's Handbook, please visit your local bookstore or amazon.com. Everybody here at What You Can Do would like to thank Rupert for coming and speaking with us, and we'd also like to thank you for watching.